How you doing? Shabbat Shalom. My name is Joshua Rogers here. Thank you for viewing our first episode tonight. I know it's a little sloppy. I was waiting for some more equipment to come in. We're going to do a different setting in the house here somewhere that we just purchased here. A blessing from the Lord. Um, but as I kept putting it off, still waiting for some lighting to come in, still waiting for this, waiting for that thing and another. Just kind of going through our pastor's message this week, and it kind of really dawned on me. I said, okay, well, Lord, I'm just sitting here wasting my time and just kicking the can down further down the road and waiting for the right moment, the right opportunities, but yet you've already given me this mic and this computer, so might as well get started. So, hey, friends, those of you that know what I'm talking about here, I'm doing a study of the month of Tevet. I started this with a little a home group that we started a couple weeks ago. Our young adults group is going to be kicking off a little something here at the end of this month. We're in January right now. So going into my study of the month of Tevet, I just kind of wanted to share with you some ideas and things that have come across it. The month of Tevet is in the Hebrew calendar. It is the 10th month. It is also uh, one of the darkest months of the year. Not only in the physical because of the winter solstice, sister pointed out to me, and it's the darkest time of the year. It's also the part where it's darkest in the spiritual realm. Also, it actually happens to be the part of the year where the darkness of the physical world and the spiritual world are actually a little bit closer. And this is when a lot of people end up passing away. There's a lot of death involved in this month. It's actually kind of a dark month. There's a few things I kind of want to go over my notes. Excuse my my shuffling around here. So one of the things that is noted on this month of Tevet that was remembered was it was actually the month that Babylon took the first temple, the siege of the first temple. The death of Simon Peter, the apostle, the disciple of Yeshua, Jesus Christ, was crucified upside down under the reign of Nero in Rome. And then also the death of Ezra took place sometime this month. And not secondly, but furthermore, Esther was actually believed to have been gone into the king's quarters sometime this month to be able to stand in the gap for her people that were being persecuted at the time. So I kind of want to back up a little bit. So when I was reading into the months and studying these things and wanting to actually, the Lord putting in my heart to understand more of these things of His times and His seasons and His times and seasons and the days and years, I kind of stumbled upon over back in Genesis, Bereshit, in the beginning. Goes back to chapter 1, verse 14. Excuse me, where it says, Let them, the sun, moon, and stars, let them be for signs, seasons, and dates. Most versions say to mark sacred times. I was going through the Amplified version, and the Amplified version says, let them to be used for signs. So the word signs is the Hebrew word atot. And the atot is of the signs of God's provident care, and for making seasons, days, and years. Now the atot, what really stood out to me, was that same Hebrew definition of the word signs, atot, comes also in Genesis chapter 9, verse 12, when reference to the rainbow covenant that Noah had received, a sign of the covenant between God and us and every living creature for all generations to come. So those kind of signs tell me that, since it's the same word here, this same word for signs, these signs are meant to be used for all generations, right? That means you and I. So also what I stumbled upon is going through the beginning of my studies here that the months that are in the Hebrew calendar, they actually have a little bit of a background, or if you will, a window into what the spiritual realm or what the spiritual battles would be like for that month, per se, for, again, the month of Tevet. So if you actually study these signs for the ability to be able to line yourself up with the will of the Lord, what He's going to be doing in your life in that month, what things to be looking out for, especially in spiritual attacks. it can be prayed up ahead of time. God wants us to be a couple of steps ahead of the enemy, and this is one of the ways He actually left for us to do this. It's a really exciting study. So anyway, so month of Tevet, and also, so like I mentioned earlier, it's the 10th month of the Hebrew calendar, but the number 10 is actually linked to a lot of different things. It actually brings out uh, these spiritual themes and visions, and resilience is what the month of Tevet is really underlining, especially in divine strategy. Right now, like I mentioned, we're in January, so the month of Tevet is a time of reflection, a time of taking the negativity in our life, going back and kind of meditating over the things that didn't work, the things that we could have done better, the things we could have changed, the things we could have avoided. And then we just kind of take those things and we take in reflection, meditation, bring it before the Lord, whether it's just by ourselves or with our spouse or, with a friend or a prayer partner or whoever it is, we can just really reflect those times that we just went through and take it before the Lord and going forward and asking Him for His guidance and His redemption, but also taking the things that we learned from these negative experiences. I'm going to go into that right now. So the 10th month is also related to the tribe of Dan. The tribe of Dan was the 10th tribe of Israel, and they were actually known for idolatry. They were the first tribe to experience or to bring in idolatry into their own worship. That was a big no-no, right? Especially for one of the tribes. But they were a very well-known tribe because they were watchmen of the rear guard for the Lord's army. They were very highly esteemed. They were very close to the Lord. They loved the Lord, but then they turned away from the Lord. So that's one of the negative aspects we can really think about going back to, learning from our mistakes. We're learning from Dan's mistakes. They got removed from the blessings after they had done all this. But, the month of Dan also goes back to that spiritual battle because they were known to be so precise and so articulate with their moves. They took down 3,000 people, 3,000 men, soldiers, without even lifting a sword because they were so strategic. So in reflection of that, we are asked to use our divine strategy going forward, along with the learning from our mistakes. One of the things I also want to underline also really quick is that, there is like I said, there was a lot of darkness in that, with the deaths and everything else, and there's even the fast days that goes back also ties back into Esther when she asked people to fast. But the brilliant thing about this also is that with all this darkness, it actually starts. This month of Tevet starts with the end of Hanukkah. So the last couple of days of Hanukkah are actually the beginning, the light, right? Us lighting our Hanukkah lights, being a light to the world in the darkness that was surrounding us right now. So it's not just complete darkness, but it also starts with light, right? The light of dedication, the light of dedicating our lives to the Lord. That even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of the death, that we will fear no evil before the Lord is with us, right? So we lit our candles for the last 2 days of Hanukkah, bringing into this dark season, but we get to carry that. So it's like as we're going through our different trials, going through our different seasons of life, as long as we're starting our days off in the Word with the Lord and carrying that through until the next checkpoint or whatever it is the Lord is trying to get us to, we're going to make it. We're going to be okay. We have to stand firm in knowing that we have that light with us. Excuse me. So the 10th tribe of Dan. The name Dan itself actually means to judge or to rule. The reflection of the negative judgment that they were actually receiving also for the things that they did. To take those, in a sense, by learning from their mistakes and their name being judgment, we are to judge over the negative things that we've done in our life, but then also to bring forth a transformation or transforming power that Yeshua had given us over these things. So I'm going to kind of bring this over full circle. I'm not going to edit this, so I know it's going to be a little choppy. I'm going to be like a lot of ums and this and that. First episode, stay with me. It's going to get better, I promise. So Dan also represents, and because of the number 10, we're going to go numerical value here. Because of the number 10 also represents the letter I-N, which is I. Now, in scripture, like I mentioned before, I'm not sure I mentioned, but I'll mention it again right now. Dan was known as the snake that was able to bite the heel of the horse of the rider to take the rider down. So it means that they were strategical. They were sneaky. They were a snake, and they hit right where it needed to bring down the entire horse and the rider. So they're also tied to a snake. So the I-N, the snake, that needs to be in reflection of this eye, snake, evil eye. I don't know if you've heard of that. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. So evil eye, good eye is what I'm trying to refer to. But since, I talked about this transforming power of being able to rule over or judge over, to rule or judge over the negative things that we've done in our lives. I'm going to go back to Luke chapter 10, verse 19, where Yeshua says, "Remember, I have given you authority so you can trample down the snakes and scorpions, indeed all the forces of the enemy, and you will remain completely unharmed." So the I-N, which is, there's two different I-Ns. There's the good eye, and then there's the evil. The root word, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and you'll see why here in a second. The root word of Tevet, the month that we're studying, is Tov. So Tov is good, and also refers to eye. So good eye, evil eye. The reason why we're focusing on the evil eye is because of the evil things that Dan started doing within their own worship, within this month of the eye. So we're supposed to take the month of Tevet and take the destructive evil eye of jealousy, hatred, harsh judgment, negativity, into an eye of Tovah, which is the good eye of blessing and love. Taking the previous negative, learning from it, and being strategical in advancement into the next year. So now that this is the month of Tevet, is in a transition between the secular or Gregorian calendar new year. So it's just so interesting that the Lord will put these things in front of us as such that in a spiritual sense, if we're following his calendars, we're coming up to this Gregorian calendar new year that most of us follow, because of the culture and the area that we live in. So we get to actually meditate on these things as we're transitioning from the old year into the new year, that we get to go and take the things from the previous year, meditate on them, and then actually use our divine strategy to go forward and plan the next year ahead, that we will be able to further the kingdom of the Lord, that we will be able to further our life to build upon the mistakes that don't have to judge, they don't have to define us. Okay, the things that we did the year before. That's why God's saving grace is so amazing, because his mercies are refreshed and renewed every day, right? So we need to be able to stand firmly on that, and especially those of us that are coming into a new sense of service this next season. There's a lot of change going on in the congregation that I'm attending right now, that the Lord has brought us to, and I just see so much beauty and flourishing ministries, and a lot of things are taking up this year. And those that are listening and know exactly what I'm talking about, I mean, this is kind of the pivotal point of it. I think what the Lord wants us to know and to hear and to reflect on right now before we actually really starting getting into it. So it's just kind of like, we'll meditate on these negative things that we did in our past, whatnot, maybe the bumps and hiccups in the year, but you know what, we're going to learn from them, we can get through it. And the Lord wants to use that. That's how the Lord sharpens us, right? It's through our trials and tribulation. It's through our testing, through the purification process that the Lord takes us through, that he's able to use us even more so because of the trials that we went through, right? We went through the desert, and we went through the testing, and we've proven ourselves, and now it's time to receive those blessings within that. Like our Pastor Bruce said, is that, just because you had a revelation from God, you received the blessings. That's only the beginning. Now it's time to start serving. So go ahead and find yourself somewhere to get plugged into, start serving the Lord, because he wants to use you. It is time for you to take the next step. So the I-N last numerical value I'll go into it. The IN numerical value has a value of 70, which symbolizes spiritual vision, completion, and focus. So as we go into this new, going through this month of divine, building up our divine strategy, let's go and get a hold of that vision, guys. That vision of what we're going to do with this next year, bringing up the generation, amongst our congregation here, and let's really hold steady that, stand firm on that. The Lord wants us to use our spiritual vision. He wants us to get together. He wants us to create this space. We want to be available for Him to use, right? So let's do that. So the month of Tevet, in reflection, in closing, really quick, month of Tevet, I'm going to write off my note here. That's why it goes easier. Tevet is a month of reflection, gaining wisdom, and knowing from the previous secular year, applying those lessons to our future. Strategically planning and moving forward in the Lord's ways, with the Lord moving in faith, courage, and boldness, because we have restoration and authority given to us under the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, through Yeshua, or Messiah. Be mindful and prayerful of spiritual attacks this month to discourage and to distract you, just as God our Father takes all the enemy meant for bad into good. So are we all to be doing as well. So keep our spiritual focus on the vision and stand firm. I'm going to quote from 1 Corinthians 15:58, and it says, Be steadfast, immovable always in the work of the Lord, and always bound. So guys, that's a quick little 16, almost 20-minute video. Thank you for watching tonight. I hope this kind of spoke volumes to you. Those of you that are in connection with me, if there's anything you want to share with me, let me know how to better this, or if you just want to share a word the Lord gave you or something maybe you were studying also, let's talk. But I'm looking very much forward to the things that are coming up in this future, and thank you for being here, part of my first episode. Love you guys. Shalom.